What sounds better? Rona or Mountain Dew? I swear this is the hardest choice I've made all year. What's going on, guys? It is Wyatt, and if you got nothing better to do, feel free to crack a cold one with me and enjoy this video. If you guys watched the last video I uploaded, you would have noticed at the end I uploaded a bit of a snippet of what's happening today, and that is that the car is really broken this time. More than something we can just fix while it's in the car. So in this video, we're going to be pulling the motor out and kind of seeing what the heck went wrong. Before we tear out the engine though, I want to talk about kind of what led up to the cracked sleeve. A couple days before it broke, we actually diagnosed a bad map sensor on the car. It turns out the map sensor was bad right out of the box. I had bought a brand new Omni 4-bar back when I put the car together the first time. This new car, the EK, back when I put it together, I put a brand new map sensor in it, and turns out it was bad out of the box. It would not read below about 14 inch-pounds of vacuum. So yeah, when the car makes 20 or 22 inch-pound of vacuum and the sensor is not reading that, your low-end drivability, idle, you know, your really low throttle position cruising, that's all out of whack, and that was all of the issues we were having with the car. So I met up with Brent from PFI and got a new map sensor from him, and it fixed all of our issues. We then took the car up to him and we were street tuning it for about an hour. We got the drivability cleaned up and it drives way better now. No more 10.0 air fuels. You know, it runs perfect, just how it should. So huge thanks to them for helping me sort that out. The car was also idling great, driving great. We fixed the boost falling off on the really high RPM. So it was carrying about 20 to 23-ish PSI all the way up to about 8,400 RPM, which is great. So the car was running perfect. Perfect, that is, until it blew a sleeve apart. So what had happened is we had finished up street tuning the car, and that night I went and picked up my girlfriend. We were gonna go bowling with two of our friends, and I picked her up in the car. She hadn't really driven in it down the street yet. So we hit the interstate, we were headed to the place we were going. Did our first pull, car ran great. Did our second pull, and right as it was coming up on boost in third gear, just a huge plume of coolant come out from underneath the hood. The car stalled, and yeah, I coasted it as far as I could, pulled off on the side of the interstate and let it cool down for a while. Made some calls to some buddies about getting it towed, what have you, and I said screw it, you know, it's already late. I don't want to, you know, keep our friends waiting any longer. Got back in the car, it fired up miraculously, and we drove it probably a half a mile up the road and we went bowling. When you crack a sleeve though, the motor has no coolant in it because that cylinder pressure goes into the cooling system and it blows all the coolant out of the motor. So keep that in mind. There was no coolant in the motor for the entire time I drove it. We didn't drive it very long, maybe a minute, so I don't think it hurt anything there. But yeah, we got to the place, we went, hung out for a while with our friends, and then it was time to head home. By the time we were leaving, it was already pretty late, so I didn't feel like calling somebody to come tow the car, and it was gonna be like 200 bucks for somebody to tow it. So I was like, you know what, if the thing starts up, I'm just gonna drive it home. I don't care. That's kind of the whole moral of this car, is just gonna send it, don't care. So the car fired up, and here's a couple clips of driving it home. All right, you guys ready to hear this piece? Oh, nice check engine light. We gonna make it home, boys. Oh, turn, you old bitch. Let's go, baby. No fucks, baby. No fucks. I'm letting it die in between like hills and stuff so that I can try and limp the bitch home. She is not happy at all. Oh baby, she is struggling. Come on, Betsy, please. Please just make this hill. I'll let you cool down, I swear. Oh lordy, it smells bad. So I did get it home that night. It did say that it was getting pretty hot on the coolant temp gauge, but obviously there was no coolant in the motor. But I'm pretty sure it was hot because it was about a 20-minute drive, or a 20-mile drive. But I did kill the car. Every chance I could, I shut it off and just let it coast. I pulled over a couple times, let it cool down for a little bit, and then continued to drive home. And yeah, I did get it home. I came back over to my shop, picked up my trailer, and I towed it over here. And now it's sitting out front. So that brings us to getting the motor pulled out of it and seeing what the heck happened. So we're gonna pull the car in and start knocking this thing out. So as you can hear, the car was not running very well. One of the things I did before I drove it home is I unplugged the injector on cylinder number 3 so that it wasn't firing on that cylinder and not making that hole any worse than it already was. Not really the greatest thing to do on this motor, but I figured it's already kind of hurt and I don't plan on reusing just about anything in this motor on the new one, and we'll get to that later on. But like I said, we're going to start by ripping this motor out today, and we'll get the head off it, see how messed up the block is, and go from there. If you guys are wondering what this janky gauge is doing up in the windshield wiper, that is an oil pressure gauge. The glow shift one I had has always been kind of finicky, and it took a shit on me right before I was supposed to get the car street tuned by Brent. So I threw that guy in there just to make sure the car had good oil pressure. So yeah, that's what that's doing there. But we're gonna get the car in the air, we're gonna pull the wheels off, get the axles out, and start unhooking the wiring, the intercooler stuff, all that stuff so that we can get the motor pulled out. And once we're ready to pull the motor out, I will resume recording. New record. Got the old motor out here in like a freaking minute. So, you know, I'm just the fastest dude on this side of the Mississippi. No biggie, whatever. It ain't no big deal. I'm just kidding. I'm gonna get the car pulled out and park it because we're not gonna be touching it for probably a couple weeks now. So I'm gonna pull the ECU out of it, lock it up, and stow it away. Something that was actually kind of cool when I was tearing the motor apart is this line right here. You can kind of see it, how it's still attached there, but missing also. So that goes to the heater core, and here is the other part of the line, and you can see how it's just blown apart. And this is from all the pressure that was in the cooling system before it went elsewhere. It probably just completely split this hose open, and that makes me really think that it is a cracked sleeve, because that was a ton of pressure in the cooling system to do that. But yeah, let's get the car pulled out. We'll start taking the head off this thing. Alright guys, moment of truth. We're just getting ready to pull the cylinder head off. All of the studs are loose, so let's go ahead and lift it and see what the heck happened. Let go. Alright, let's take a look. Oh, baby. Woo! She's done for, bud. Alright guys, are you ready to see the carnage? Because it is pretty cool. It is cracked sleeve just like I thought. Get the light up here so you can see it. Look at that bad boy right there. Nice big old crack all the way down the cylinder wall. So I wasn't really planning on tearing the motor apart today, but I got ahead of myself and a little ambitious, and it's already torn apart. I'm going to show you guys just a little bit of that, the part that I would find interesting, so I'll show you that here in a minute. But first off, I want to show you guys the clutch. In a couple videos ago, when we took the car racing last, I had mentioned that, I don't think this clutch is doing the greatest a job putting the power to the ground, and I'm pretty sure I was right. So I'll take you over here and just show you the clutch real quick. As you guys can see on this side, we got a puck right here that is completely trashed, and then we have one on the other side as well. Right here, it's missing a bunch of clutch material, and as you can see, the clutch is actually getting pretty thin, right down next to the bearing or the rivet deals. So yeah, not a whole lot of life on this thing. This clutch was actually used when I got it, and that's why I think it was, not even holding since we put it in the car, as this did come out of about an 800 horsepower car that was already slipping it. So yeah, this clutch has seen better days. It's definitely time for a twin disc. Another interesting fact about this clutch is, I don't know if you'll be able to see it down here, but these teeth are actually like knife bladed from how hard the clutch had been pushed. Usually those would have a nice, round lobe on the end of them that would grab the input shaft really smoothly, but this thing is just like completely knife bladed from being torqued so hard. On the pressure plate side, it's not too bad. There is a lot of scoring and some heat transfer. And then on the flywheel side, this is where it gets the worst, is there's these two big ol' scoring marks here and here, and these things, you can definitely feel the valley of where they were just totally cooked out, and you can see the amount of heat that they had in here. So that's why I was kind of saying I don't think the clutch is holding very well, and that kind of just proves it. As far as the motor goes, we are already all torn apart. The next thing I need to do is pull the main caps and the bearings out and see how those are looking. This motor has not been apart all season, so this will be a good indicator of how well the motor was running and how well these king bearings are doing in here. So let's go ahead and start getting that all apart. Alright, so we just got the crankshaft out, and the main bearings are actually looking in really good shape. Like no wear on them at all, just a little bit down through the coating, which is completely normal, especially an engine like this. But yeah, they're looking freaking great. Same with the caps, those sides all look perfect, and the crank is nice and straight and not too torn up, so we will be able to use this in the next build. I'll probably just hand polish it up just a tiny bit, and should be ready to go. As far as the rods and pistons go, they were all in pretty good shape. It was probably about time for some rod bearings. Let's see, there was one that had a little bit of wear on it. This guy right here, you can see it's barely showing a little bit of the copper, and you know, it would probably be time to put a bearing in this guy. But otherwise, they are all in really good shape. And surprisingly, on this piston, this is the one with the cracked sleeve, the only thing that happened to it is it broke the second ring. It just broke it in half right there, and it just got this tiny score on it, which you can't even feel with your finger. So these things will be able to be cleaned up and reused if I so choose to. And yeah, I'm actually just really surprised. The motor's in great shape, all things considered. So yeah, I'm gonna strip a couple more things off of this block real quick, and I will probably just clean up, and then we'll go from there. Let's just go ahead, jump right into it. Like I said, this is gonna be kind of long-winded, so bear with me. But as you guys know, this is the old motor we just pulled out of the car. This thing has the Nippon turbo pistons with some scat rods. It's got a good crank. The whole bottom end is good on this motor. So my thought is I can either take everything out of this motor, rods, pistons, crank, all of that, and transfer it into this block. This block is a B18 B1 with a DA Fab CNC'd block guard. Now this is just like the CSS block. The only difference is this is a little bit thinner. This is only like a 1/2 inch block guard as opposed to an inch or 3/4 that the CSS is. But they have been tested to over 800 horsepower with no problem. So this will be the new block for the car. And that's kind of where I want your guys' opinion. Would you rather me get the car back up and running ASAP, just slap all of that stuff into this block and call it a day? Or I have these Eagle rods right here. These are Eagle Extreme Duty rods. These things on their data sheet say they're good to over 1,000 horsepower, which is way more than we're ever going to push from this motor. But I do have those, and I could order pistons, and we just build a badass block and shoot for about 800 horsepower and just be done with it. If I end up going that route with the Eagle rods and whatnot, I will probably be doing Arius pistons. They have a 10.5 to 1 compression ratio piston and an 81.5 millimeter bore. And that is the route I would go if I were to build the block to the hilt and just be done with it. But that's where I kind of want your guys' opinion. It would be a little while before I could order those pistons and get everything done. Or we could just slap it together with the old stuff and hopefully not throw a rod through the block and ruin it. But anyways, that's just my thought. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and we'll kind of go from there. I'm kind of leaning towards just building the motor with the Arius pistons and the Eagle rods and just being done with it, shooting for about 800 horsepower. The only downside to that is the car is going to be sitting for a while. So like I said, let me know what you guys would do down in the comments. But if I go with the fully built route and go for 800 horsepower, I will have to wait for a little while to get the pistons. I'll have to order a twin disc clutch, and we'll have to do something about the transmission because it's not gonna take that kind of abuse. So yeah, like I said, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you guys would do. As of right now, the EK is gonna be put on hold, and we're gonna be focusing on the EG build here in the next coming week or so. We're gonna try to get the remainder of the little things I need to put the D series together. And then we're gonna hop on that and get that car up and running so we still have something to drive that's kind of fast, and we'll go from there. So yeah, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. I mean, heck, that crack alone deserves a like, so make sure to thumbs up, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.